I'm Travis Brown, founder and CEO of Mojo Up Marketing and Media. And this is my podcast, where I talk to the most successful Black and brown business executives who've broken through the barriers of today's business culture. Welcome to Mojo Up Live, the Diverse and Talented podcast. I'm your host, Travis Brown. And as you know, we bring the most successful stories from the Black and brown talent right here in the Greater Indianapolis area. And today I got Kristin Mays-Corbitt. She's the president and CEO of Mays Chemical. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Hey, this took a little bit of work because when I was texting you, you're like, but I'm glad that you did stop by.
Absolutely.
And do this. So I want to jump right in going, so president and CEO of not just a company, but a company that your dad founded and created and built and was a pillar in this community. So what's it like now to be in those shoes trying to fill them?
It's hard. A lot of people have preconceived notions about how you should do things. A lot of people think you should do them exactly the same way that the first generation did them, but you've got to change with the times. You've got to upgrade and try to remain competitive, and so it's challenging at times. But I love the people that I work with. I always have, even when I was just a youngster running around the office and not really doing much work. But I think the people make our company, and I'm just proud to be a part of it.
So a lot of times when people think about second generation, kids taking over the business, there's some negative connotation, or there's some thought that they didn't earn that. But your trajectory wasn't like I just stepped in one day and I'm the president and CEO. Like, you got a history of the hustle, the grind, working through the company. So talk a little bit about what was that journey like to get to this seat today?
Sure. So I started working just summers at the company. When I was 14, I did just routine filing of HR paperwork, and I really had a passion, sounds really geeky, but for spreadsheets, and they were just and databases, and they were just coming out at the time when I was in the 8th, 9th grade. And so I went over and worked with accounting, and we worked on a product that's called Lotus 123.
Lotus.
Yeah, which no one knows about, because today everyone learns Excel. But I worked on Lotus and did some database and some kind of spreadsheet type stuff for accounting in the tax department and in the receivables and payables department. And then I learned just a little bit, enough to be dangerous, about customer service. But all of this was admin work. It was when I was in high school. And the summer before I left for college, I worked and really understood the inner workings of customer service. Little did I know that would set me up for a phone call when I was a sophomore in college at IU that said, hey, we had someone go out very suddenly. At the time, my cousin, Kristin Mays, was running the customer service department, and she said, can you come in and fill in for us, because you already know it, you're pretty much already trained, and so it'll just be a couple of weeks. And that was January of 1997. And I'm still there. So I progressed through a variety of roles. Customer service, I decided, and I was working in the customer service department full-time and still going to school full-time. I transferred to IUPUI, and I also had a daughter. I was just born kind of that October before I started working full-time, so I needed the job. I decided once I graduated from IU that I wanted to get my master's, but I didn't know when. But kept working at the company in a variety of roles. Went and did the Kelley Direct online MBA, because again, I still needed to work. I had this little mouth to feed, and I didn't want to take the time to do a traditional part-time MBA, and so At that time, online education was very different, very different. I don't think the kids today will never know how different it was, but matriculated again through the purchasing department. I went and did kind of an assignment working with my dad on his outside investments, so it wasn't company related at all, but I still drove there every day, and that's the office that I worked out of, and that was an education in and of itself. Came back in the company. At that time they needed some help with systems, so worked and oversaw pretty much our operations, so customer service, purchasing, traffic and logistics, and warehousing operations. Did a quick stint in sales and marketing.
So this isn't like I just arrived one day. I'm enjoying this history, especially for people that know you or know of you, and understand that sometimes like the journey is real. Like you put in the time.
Absolutely, and it was a natural progression. It was not like a structured, okay, we're going to put you through your paces and this is going to be the program before you take over. It was just identifying a need within the company and then filling the need, and also learning along the way. So it was very hands-on, get your hands dirty, because most of the time they don't put you over something when everything is running very smoothly and there are no issues. It's usually, hey, we got a big issue.
Go fix it.
Go fix it. And in order to fix it, I'm a very hands-on person. So in order to fix it, I really get down and dirty and into the, okay, so I'm calling vendors and I'm on forklifts and I'm, labeling product to figure out the progression of how processes really need to flow. So that really took place over, I would say, 10 to 12 years. I spent 4 years implementing a ERP system at the company, and so I did that from 2004 to 2008.
That's fun.
Yeah. That's a whole nother segment. And then was promoted to assistant to the president. And my dad did that so I could really touch and learn about all areas of the senior organization without having to necessarily ask permission.
And not saying your kids, any of your kids will jump in your business and go that route, but if they did, would you duplicate that process of learning, or would you do it a little bit differently now? Know what you know?
I think that is one of the very few ways that you can have credibility in your work. So today, as a president, I have more credibility than somebody walking in off the street because I've actually done it. But that also allows me to lead with an understanding of what challenges and issues. So I feel like I have a leg up. Would I do it the exact same way? It may be a little bit more structured. It may be a conversation. Hey, do you see yourself running this one day? Because if so, let's chart out a course. There are some areas I spent way too long in. Other areas I probably didn't spend enough time in.
Fair.
So but again, it was very organic, and I'm just appreciative of the opportunity to learn and to try to be an asset to any business, let alone my family business. It was really fun, and I can say that now because I'm looking back and saying it, but it was really a blessing to get to work with my dad every day. And a lot of people can't say that. Now it made weekends a little contentious because we didn't know where to cut it off, right? So every conversation had to do with business and what do we do here and what do we and it could never be, well, hey, I'm thinking about getting a new car, you want to help me do that? Or I'm thinking, are you doing these kinds of things? And so but it was a blessing. Right. It was really fun.
So now, what kind of leader is Kristin today?
I would say, again, I'm still very hands-on. I'm probably too hands-on for some people because I like to get down and dirty. And I learned doing that from my cousin. She was a very hands-on leader. So she always had accounts when she led our customer service department and our customer response department. Again, I think that lends to credibility and just knowledge. I'm oftentimes, I won't say first one there, but last one to leave. I just really like to be ingrained in what's going on so I can make the best decisions that I can make. And I won't say it's, a case of too much information and analysis paralysis, but I really like to understand what I'm talking about. I don't like to just talk the talk.
One of the things that I when I see people like yourself that are in this position that are trying to juggle a lot of balls, not that we all aren't. One of them, because we had older daughters that were the same age, and we have younger daughters that are the same age, and so we've crossed circles. Is how does that balance look like? You're the president and CEO. You're trying to live on a legacy and create your own, but now you're also you're a mother trying to figure out that balance. Like, what does that look like from your perspective?
It's difficult, and we try to be a family-friendly company all the way around, but it's so hard, especially on the women, because we are expected to do everything. And I'm not saying that it's like that in every house, but it's hard for me to balance work with, but I've got to pick someone up at 4, but then they have basketball practice at 5, and so then I'll often go back to the office at basketball practice, and then I'm going back. So I'm a lot of running around that I don't see our male counterparts doing, and so I saw a picture once, and there is a female CEO and a male CEO. The male CEO was way out in front of the female, and you look at the female, and she had family and dishes and childcare and house and all these things that were like literally just holding her back. And so I commend any working mother, because it is a balancing act. It's pretty tough, and we know that as a company. We try to be extremely flexible, extremely family friendly. The pandemic brought on a lot of policies, work from home policies that we decided to adopt, just to try to make that balance a little bit easier.
So let me pause that trajectory. Let's go back. So high school, where you already mentioned some of that college stuff, but like high school, college, and what was the first, did you have a job out of college that you did before you went to Mays, or that was just the crossover?
Yeah. So high school, I am born and bred here in Indianapolis. I went to Lawrence Schools. Shout out to Lawrence. My sister still teaches in Lawrence Schools. But I went to Skiles Test, Belzer, LC. So I'm in LC Bear, right off of 56th Street. Yeah. And
my wife graduated from LC as well.
Yep. So then I took my talents down to Bloomington, IU Bloomington, which it is kind of it's a family thing. So we have many IU grads in our family. But I went down to Bloomington and spent a couple years on the Bloomington campus, and came back to Indianapolis and graduated from IU. It's a Kelley degree, so 2 years in Bloom, 2 years in Indy. And I did have 2 jobs outside, or I won't say out of college, because I was still in college working, but before I was tapped and asked to go to Mays Chemical, I worked at SMC Pneumatics, which they're huge now, but no one knew who they were. They were a company on Franklin Road, the east side. I worked in their HR department, just doing various tasks, and it's so funny how life just comes full circle, because now I am good friends with one of the senior executives there. But I was kind of lowly in HR, just doing filing, and I would see the pay of these engineers, and I'm like, ooh. Maybe I need to be an engineer. Like, did I go to the wrong school? And of course, that's blasphemy in my house, because I can never say the P word.
There you go. You're on the you said, if I want to really make real money, I should go to P school. That makes sense. I get that.
Yeah. Okay. Then my dad quickly reminded me, business people pay engineers. So he always says that. Whatever. I used to think about law occasionally. He said, no, business people pay lawyers. So
I love that.
I don't know if I love it, but my husband definitely hates it.
That's great. That's right. Wait till I see him.
Yeah.
That's what we'll say. Well, no, because we're a business and we pay his firm.
That's
there
right.
You go, so.
That's right. Business people pay lawyers. And I also worked it was called National Programming Service, NPS, and I was just in their customer service department, worked full time. They were a 24/7, 365 shop, but they provided customer service to satellite dish owners. And at that time, what's very interesting is and it's a little aside to see how the world evolves, but at that time you had those big C-band dishes, like you see now out in the country, right? And so those dishes would literally have to turn to one of 5 different transponders to pick up the stations. And so I would have these customers in very rural Indiana, rural all over because we serve nationally, but they would call and they would have these accents because they live out in the country, and they would say, okay, I want 3 months of the Disney Channel, I want 6 months of HBO, I want 12 months of Showtime Stars package. And so I would process their orders for their programming.
Wow.
And that was on one side of the house, and we were trained to do both. But then on the other side of the house was this little teeny tiny dealer business where the dealers of these dishes for DirecTV would call, and this was the smallest portion of the business. And the dealers would call, and they were the easier calls because they'd just say, just activate the premium package. And so you got all these channels for one price.
You got to see it.
Yeah, so you got to see the evolution and very quickly, and that was in the mid to late 90s. Very quickly I was out of a job because the smaller dishes took over, and now you don't even see those large dishes anymore. I don't even know if they can buy programming. So just very interesting to see how technology evolves.
So you guys have some kids.
We do.
4. Handful. I would say a handful of them. 4. So 2 actually have already taken the trajectory of IU, right?
That's correct.
And then what about the other 2?
So our oldest is, she just graduated IU Law in May, and she did her undergrad at IU in the Media Journalism School. Our son, and she's 26, our son is in the Navy, so he's actually stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. And he did try college for a couple of years and decided that it wasn't for him. He wanted different challenges, wanted to see the world, and so we were very proud. He enlisted in boot camp, and probably one of the hardest 8 weeks of his life, but it was so very hard for us too. Just not being able to communicate with him, talk to him, not knowing. It was challenging, and we're a blended family, so I need to say that up front because a lot of times I talk about all these children like they are all my own, and because I feel very strongly about that, but I would do a disservice if I didn't mention that their mother is also here, and so we are kind of a trifecta of parents raising all of these children. My middle daughter is down at IU. She is a chemistry major, pre-dental. Okay. No, she doesn't want anything to do with the business, but she does like chemistry. So that's been fun to chat with her. She actually did work with us over the summer and got to do some things in our lab at Greenwood, which was practical hands-on experience, which she will need for not only her chemistry degree, but for dental school, they like for you to work with your hands. So she did some lab and some testing and things like that. And then our youngest is 10. And she does not know what she wants to do. She's leaning towards veterinary science. And so we told her, well, you can go anywhere except for that school in West Lafayette.
Oh goodness!
But she's a rebel, so
she's going.
Yeah, so
wait
literally,
till I see her. I'm be in her ear about Purdue.
Well, what she will do is she will grab your Purdue hat, she will put it on, and then she'll say, "Hey, Coach Travis, can you take a picture of me and send it to my mom?" Because she does that just to torture me. She does, and so we have a lot of friends that went to Purdue, and any chance she gets, she'll grab their gear.
That is great.
Yeah.
She is feisty and always smiling. So I always love that. I love that about her. Now, the other thing that I know that you're really involved in is just the community. Just being involved. doing some cool things, but there's probably a lot of things behind the scenes too. Obviously, the NBA host committee is one of the newest ones. Just talk about some of your things that you're excited about that you're doing in the community.
Yeah. So if community involvement were genetic, I definitely got that gene from both my mom and my dad. And everyone will comment about my dad, but my mom was so heavily involved within the community as well. And she was a little bit in his shadow because he was always outward. And it's that whole men-women dynamic, because
especially at that era.
At that era, because she was taking care of us too. So she couldn't be at all of the functions and all of the things, but every chance that she got, she was there. And subsequently I was there, because I was, I can't tell you how many dinners I went to for philanthropic events, just because once I got of age, it was like, okay, we're going to this dinner or we're going to that dinner. And so I kind of, just really by osmosis and growing up in a household where people were civically engaged, that I really found my passion to just have some involvement. So NBA All-Star Host Committee is one. I'm on a couple of different boards, not-for-profit boards. 16 Tech is a huge one that I have been very blessed to be on throughout the duration. Pretty much I came shortly after the board was formed, and if you've never been down to the AMP or to the 16 Tech,
we met with them not too long ago. It's
a beautiful campus. I think it really sets the city apart. Indy Chamber. So we've got you and I have some dealings with Indy Chamber together. YMCA. So if I weren't in chemistry and chemical distribution and ingredient distribution, I would probably be doing something in health science, in activity, in exercise, something like that. So YMCA is very near and dear to my heart. And so I'm on the YMCA, the larger board, it's not a center board, it's more of the Central Indiana YMCA board. And that was, I think, the first board that I got on. Love the people, love the mission. And I love trying to figure out ways to make our community healthier. Because we in Indianapolis get a really bad rap about the health and well-being of our community. And so then you pivot from that, and I'm also on the board of the IU Health System, which is a hospital board, and really getting to see from both aspects, so caring for the health and well-being, and then trying to implement programming and policy for the health and well-being of the city. Definitely two things that I'm very passionate about.
Well, when I think of the change in our culture from a professional perspective, and even some equity, and we'll talk about this later, but when you see women CEOs and presidents, black women CEO and presidents, like now there's more opportunity than there ever has been.
Absolutely.
What would you be saying to your young black females that aspire to be where you are today, but there's still that gap of insecurity to get there? Like what would you be saying to them?
So, shameless plug for my cousin, because she has a program that really develops not only women, but really all minorities to be prepared to be in leadership positions, to be in board service. What does that look like? And I think today, more so than ever, there are a lot of different organizations who focus on, hey, let's give the minority community an understanding of what it takes to do board service, and how can we get people prepared to be in leadership roles on board. So not just participating in the board, but to be in a leadership position on a board, to really get your seat at the table and really have a chance to impact change and impact the community. And I would say, I mean, the chamber has one. There are several.
What's your cousin's organization?
don't know.
It's okay.
We'll find
Yep,
it. We'll
that's fine.
we'll link it in the show
Yeah,
notes.
there
I've
is.
watched enough podcasts to know. We'll link it in the show notes because I don't know the official name.
Okay.
I know it's Mays. I know her last name is involved, but I don't know what it
That's
is
okay.
offhand. But yeah, she. And she has been in these positions, so she knows exactly what it takes. And then really just reaching out to a mentor.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to have several mentors along the way, just because I was always and I say the kid in the room because my mentorship started when I was very, very young, but I was always the kid in the room kind of wondering and well, you look like you have a cool job. What do you do? And just, talking to people. And I can vividly remember Kathy Jordan, who used to work for the Pacers. I used to say, I want to do what she does because she looks like she has got the ultimate job. And so some people connected us and we talked about, what she does. And I was very young. I don't even think she would remember the conversation because I don't know that it was that impactful to her. But just for her taking the time to talk to me, it was extremely impactful for me.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the hot seat with our rapid fire questions here in a few minutes. But one of the last questions I have before then is, what's a failure? What's something that you failed at in this journey, our big lesson that you just had to learn to be able to fix it all?
I think acknowledging when you've made a mistake and retrenching. And not being so worried about what everyone will think about the mistake. Let's just figure out how to fix it. I don't profess to say that I do it, with expertise today, but I think I'm better at it. I'm quicker at it. I'm getting more reactive to and listening to that inner voice that says, nope, that wasn't the right way to go. Okay, let's retrench. Let's acknowledge it and let's undo it, for lack of a better term.
For you, is it hard to? I mean, I didn't have a chance to meet your dad, but I've never met a person that said a bad thing about him. And they all he was this bigger than life person that did so much. Has that been hard, stepping into that level of expectation and trying not to fail?
Yes, I think so. There is, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, everyone expects you to do it in exactly the same way. And just the differences in male, female, and the household responsibilities means I can't do it in the same way. He literally was out every night at a dinner or a reception or some event that happened after the hour of 5 p.m. And literally I tell my assistant all the time, okay, I'm going to my second job, which is I'm picking up kids, I'm taking kids, I'm making sure that homework is done, I'm making sure that dinner is done. And so that's my second job for no pay. But, so just by the sheer differences in the household responsibilities, we can't do it the same way. Yeah. But I hope to impact the same number of people in a different way. Whether that's representation, whether that's mentoring, whether that's one-on-one conversations, hopefully somebody says, yeah, she didn't do it in exactly the same way, but her heart was the same and her intention about impact was the same.
Yeah, I love that. And I love your demeanor about it too. I mean, I know we're having a conversation, but I've known you long enough to know that's kind of how you operate. All right, I got you on the hot seat now. So this is rapid fire, your favorites. Okay, favorites, either one answer or one word answer or even a quick phrase. All right, favorite place to vacation?
Anywhere warm.
Coolest city you've been to?
Miami.
Favorite homemade meal?
Breakfast. Pancakes.
Pancakes?
Yeah.
A restaurant you love to go to?
Really feeling HT Tavern in 1933. Shout out to Hughes. Thank you so much for putting those right in the yard.
Right, I love that too. A brand you love?
I'm a Nike girl. I'm an 80s, 90s person, so everything Nike represented back in those days, even my socks are always Nike. So
I love it. You know, I'm always in a pair of J's, and when your husband came on this show, he wore some dress shoes. I'm like, come on, man, bring that J's look.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know why he faked you out like that.
All right, favorite sports team.
Pacers or Colts. I'm Indiana through and through.
All-time favorite athlete.
Ooh. Kobe Bryant.
I love that. Kobe's on my wall. Love that. Last TV show or series you binged?
White Lotus.
It's funny, people are like, can I say this in here? Can I say it? I know how many people have said it like that. I don't know if I can say that, right?
I feel like somebody's going to change their mind about how they feel about me because of that answer right there.
A movie that you feel like everybody should watch?
Gosh, we were just thinking about this. The Devil Wears Prada.
Okay, look. Hey, your look even changed when you said that. Favorite type of music?
Rap all day long.
Your hype song?
Boss by the Carters or Savage, but Savage the Beyonce remix.
Yeah. Got to have that in there.
Yeah.
A nonprofit you love to support?
YMCA.
Now, I didn't ask this question. I got to go back, and I'm even dealing with my own time issues now. But I got two last questions for you. One is you have a sorority affiliation.
Absolutely.
That you represent. So talk about why has that been so important for you?
So I'm just going to say
it.
You
should say
I am an AKA. I was initiated on the campus of Butler University, Kappa chapter, and it's important for several reasons, but I think primarily, so both of my parents were Greek affiliated. My grandparents, we've got a kind of a legacy of Greek affiliation within our family. But seeing and you can always realize this looking backwards, but seeing at my dad's funeral the amount of Kappas, my father was a Kappa, that and how much time he spent with the organization, but really just witnessing all of the brothers who came to tell him goodbye, and then starting to think back on all of the people that were relevant as my parents' friends in his life. 90% of them were Kappas, and it's the same way on my mom's side. So I feel like that AKA was a sisterhood that you get into doing something in college, and it was very service oriented college, and I loved where I went to school and the sisters that I was initiated with, and just really grew to love there on the campus. But having that aspect then that follows you all throughout your life, and is intertwined in your life, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like that sisterhood. And whether you are like me and sometimes too busy to participate in one way, you find ways to stay connected. And I'm just grateful for that sisterhood. And full disclosure, so my oldest daughter, my middle daughter, they're both AKAs. That little young one would probably do something just to spite me and maybe go a different direction, and then we have to have a conversation. But no, I feel like the sisterhood makes all the difference.
I'm wrecking my time here because I manage my time well, but I want to ask this question too, and I see if I can get to your last question. But so with the vice president, like, what did that mean to you? It
meant everything to me. First, I am a firm believer of you have to see it. You have to be exposed to something to know that it can actually happen. Whether that's a verbal exposure, whether that's a visual exposure, whether that's you lived through it in your lifetime or it's something that happened in the past, I feel like if you can see it, you feel like you can achieve it. And I know that's kind of cliche. About a year before Vice President Harris was inaugurated and elected, my oldest daughter actually went to go work in her Senate office for 6 months. And that was kind of her, one of her idols, for lack of a better term. Someone who she really looked up to. Senator Harris had done some wonderful things in California. And, it was a one in I don't know how many long shot. She was like, well, I'm just going to apply for this role. I'm not from California. I don't live in California, but this is somebody I want to work for. We're aligned on a lot of the same issues. She looks like me. This would be a great opportunity. And I'm like, okay. And at that time, I didn't even know who Kamala Harris was. Mm-hmm. But the fact that my daughter went to go work in her Senate office to see a senator of California, to then see her announce her vice presidency campaign, to then see her win and be elected, that did more for me, just knowing that, okay, my generation
it's possible,
and younger generations can see that we can do anything. So they don't have the same kind of thought process that we have growing up, because we saw white males in the White House from forever. And so then when President Obama got in, it was like, oh yes, this could really happen. But then when you see a black female the doors are open. Mm-hmm. Like it was so impactful. And I can remember where I was watching President Obama's inaugurations, and I can remember exactly where I was watching. We streamed it on in our common area for Vice President Harris's inauguration, and just everything that had happened up until that date. It was just so impactful.
Right.
So impactful.
Last question. We always say that there's going to be a number, a dash, and a number on a tombstone when it's all over. There's going to be a bunch of people talking about you. What do you want them to say?
I think it is that in her own way, in my own way, I made a difference. It may not be as big as some people want it to be. It may not be as small as some people thought it would be. But I would just like to be known for using my time, talent, and treasure to leave this world, this city, this state a little bit better than I found it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've enjoyed getting to know you and seeing you over time, and now our professional worlds not clash, but are coming in contact, and just seeing you operate and seeing how much people respect who you are and what you do has been really joyful for me to be able to see at this level. And thank you again for coming by today. So
thank you.
Here you go. It's on you.
Okay, that's a wrap. Mojo Up Podcast.